2 a.m. The cold metal of the phone presses against my fingers, its weight heavier than ever. The room is silent, save for the rhythmic sound of Emily's breathing in the next room. Steady, peaceful, untouched by the storm raging inside me. I shouldn't be doing this. But how did it come to this? Doubt starts as a whisper, subtle and fleeting, a shadow in the back of your mind. Easy to dismiss. But one day, that whisper morphs into a scream, deafening and relentless. Ignoring it is no longer an option. That's how it started for me. At first, it was the little things. Emily had always been open. No locked doors, no secrets. But lately, she had become unnaturally attached to her phone, keeping it close, even in the bathroom. It never left her side. One evening, I asked to borrow it to order pizza. The hesitation in her eyes lasted only a second, but to me, it stretched into eternity. Then came the mysteriously erased call logs, the empty message threads. A crack formed within me. Why erase messages unless you have something to hide? I knew the answer. Knowing and accepting, however, are two entirely different things. I tried to dismiss my suspicions. Maybe it was stress, paranoia, the weight of my profession bleeding into my personal life. I'm a lawyer. I deal with deception, manipulation, and half-truths every day. I've seen people lie under oath without blinking. But I never thought I'd be questioning my own wife's honesty. Then I saw the messages. 3 of them. Don't forget, we only have 2 days. I miss you so much. When and where? Sent by Mark. A name I'd never heard Emily mention. Not a friend, not a colleague, an outsider to our life. And the tone of those words? It left no room for misinterpretation. When and where? A meeting. A plan. A betrayal. A chill crawled down my spine. The doubt poisoning my thoughts solidified into certainty. I had to know the full truth. Most people don't realize it, but phones are a privacy disaster. They think they're safe behind passwords and locks. But once you gain access, you know everything. And I was about to do just that. I placed the phone on the table, took a deep breath. Because once you cross a certain line, there's no turning back. I plugged in the cable, connecting the device to my laptop. Lines of code flashed across the screen. A method I had read about. A way to retrieve hidden messages, deleted logs, recordings. One click, and everything would be laid bare. But did I truly want to see it? What if I was wrong? What if I was about to destroy my marriage over a misunderstanding? 19 years. 2 children. A lifetime of shared memories. Yet, what if I was right? My hands trembled over the keyboard. Around me, our life stared back. Framed wedding photos, baby pictures, keepsakes from the years we had built together. Everything that once felt solid, unbreakable, now crumbling into uncertainty. The screen flickered, then unlocked. First, the call logs. Then the messages. Then, a hidden folder. My stomach clenched as I clicked it open. My breath caught. And in that moment, my life split into 2, before and after. Dozens of recovered texts flooded the screen. Mark, did you think about me? Emily, every second. But is this right? Mark, it's not about right or wrong. I just want to be with you. Emily, I don't know if I deserve this. Mark, stop lying to yourself. Emily, the truth is what makes you happy. 19 years of devotion, of sacrifice, of love, all reduced to this. Another man convincing my wife she deserved happiness, as if I had never been enough. My throat went dry. How had I not seen this? The answer was painfully simple. I hadn't wanted to see it. Memories surged back. The night I met Emily, freshman year of college, a party, the air thick with laughter and music. She had been the center of attention, her energy magnetic. That night, everyone wanted her, but she had chosen me. Jake, she had shouted, as if we had known each other forever, before throwing her arms around me and kissing me full on the lips. That was the beginning. And for years, I had believed it was fate, that our love was unshakable. But looking back now, the signs had always been there. Emily had never truly belonged to me. She belonged to the thrill, to the chase, to the games only she knew the rules to. I had been a willing player, blinded by love, thinking I had won her. But in reality, Emily had always been in control. Her family was powerful, wealthy, her father a titan of business, her mother sharp and calculating. When they welcomed me in, I felt honored. But my family? We were different. My father was a blue-collar worker, my mother a nurse. We weren't rich, but we were honest, simple, happy. I remember Emily's mother once telling me, "Jake, You're a smart man. But if you want to stand beside Emily, you need to be strong. Back then, I didn't understand what she meant. Now, sitting here, staring at Emily's betrayal, I finally did. I wasn't strong. Emily was. She had always held the power, the control. And I had played my part perfectly, until now. So why did I marry her? Because I had convinced myself I had no other choice. Everyone told me Emily wouldn't do anything without reason. Trust her, they said. If she did something, there's an explanation. But I didn't care about reasons anymore. There was only one undeniable truth. I had been lied to. And those messages? They were just the beginning. My hands trembled as I shut the phone, my heart plummeting into my stomach. This couldn't be the end. I needed to know more. Was I married to a woman who had betrayed me? Or was this just the surface of something even deeper? And the real question, was I ready for the truth? Sometimes, the truth sets you free. Other times, it becomes a chain you can never break. I stared at the words on the screen, each one slicing into me like a knife. I miss you. When and where? Denial surged through me. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe Mark was just a coworker, an old friend. But the lawyer in me went silent, and the husband's instincts took over. If a man is texting your wife, I miss you, there's no misunderstanding. I couldn't run from it anymore. But I still didn't know the full extent of Emily's betrayal. Texts weren't enough. I needed more. Unlocking her phone fully, I found a tracking app. Had she installed it herself? Clicked a shady ad? It didn't matter. What mattered was that I now had access to her last known location. I tapped the screen. The map loaded. Cooper's Restaurant. An upscale, intimate place just outside the city. The kind of place where people met in secret. A sinking feeling settled in my gut. But I had to see for myself. The next day, I skipped work and drove straight to Cooper's. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. The hush, the candlelit tables, the stolen glances. Mostly couples. Secrets whispered between sips of wine. I approached the host. Was there a reservation under the name Mark yesterday? The host raised an eyebrow and disappeared into the back. Minutes later, he returned, sizing me up. Yes, a Mark had lunch here yesterday. My throat tightened. Was he alone? He hesitated, then gave a polite but knowing smile. I'm sorry, sir. We don't disclose guest information. I returned his smile, but with a different kind of persuasion. A crisp $50 bill slid across the counter. He sighed, took it, and leaned in. He was with a woman. Long brunette hair. Well-dressed. She gave the name Emily. The air left my lungs. Emily. My wife. Sitting across from another man, calling herself by name, bold enough not to hide. I closed my eyes and pictured them together. How did he look at her? How did she smile at him? How did they touch? Shaking, I pulled out my phone and played the conversation I had recorded from the night before. Mark, you can't let David find out. He'll never understand. Emily, I know. But how can I keep lying to him? Because he already knows as much as he needs to. Emily. The rest doesn't matter. The rest doesn't matter. Was this a confession? Or something bigger? This wasn't just an affair. Emily wasn't just sneaking around. She was making a choice. And I wasn't a part of it. That night, she acted like everything was normal. Cooking dinner. Smiling. But I had already seen behind the mask. How had I been so blind? The voices of our families echoed in my mind. A good husband knows what his wife needs. Loyalty in marriage doesn't always work both ways, Jake. And suddenly, I saw the bigger picture. This wasn't just Emily's betrayal. It was a system. And in that system, I was nothing more than a pawn. It wasn't just Mark standing behind Emily. It was her mother. My mother. Our entire families. And worse, they were trying to change me. To mold me into the kind of husband who would accept this. Who would smile through the humiliation. But they had underestimated me. I was not the man they thought I was. And I was going to destroy their plan. But how? That was the real question. I wrestled with two voices inside me. One screamed for confrontation. To flip the table. To expose Emily. To make her face what she had done. The other whispered for patience. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was about manipulation. Emily's mother. My mother. Mark. Maybe even others. All of them working to reshape me. To break me into their twisted definition of marriage. One where loyalty was a privilege, not a given. Then, the first move came from my father and father-in-law. Sunday morning. Breakfast with Emily. My phone rang. It was my dad. Jake, we're going out today. Booked a club. Just the guys. Something felt off, but I agreed. When I stepped inside the club, I understood. Dim lights. Loud music, wild energy, and women, barely dressed, drifting from table to table. My father-in-law, business associates, and their entertainment. My dad leaned in, swirling his drink. Jake, sometimes in life, you've got to accept a few things. My father-in-law nodded. You know Emily loves you. But people want variety. I stared at them, my pulse pounding. My dad smiled. Listen, son, you've earned this too. Emily's happy. You should have some fun. He tilted his head toward a woman beside him. Sophia will take care of you. I understood then. This was their plan, to dirty me, to make me complicit. If I fell, if I cheated, I could never judge Emily. I would have no moral ground to stand on. But I wasn't that man. I forced a smile, took a sip of my drink, and calmly stood. Sorry, gentlemen. I have a wife waiting for me at home. My father-in-law rolled his eyes. My dad started to protest. But I was already walking out the door. That night, I sat in my car for hours. Why were they doing this? Why force a man to accept betrayal? And then it clicked. Because they had all been through the same thing. And no one wants to see themselves reflected in a man who didn't break. The days that followed were quiet, but I saw it all now. Emily's affair wasn't just about desire. It was about control. Her mother, my mother, the men, the women, all of them were trying to shape me into a man who would accept it. They thought I would look the other way, that I would swallow the truth and smile through it. But they were wrong. I wasn't going to accept it. New Year's Eve. A grand celebration. Emily's family. My family. Our kids. Everyone was there, reveling in the moment. And me? I had a plan of my own. It was time to flip the game. Laughter filled the house as the night went on. Emily beamed, basking in the warmth of the occasion. My mother and mother-in-law exchanged subtle glances, their eyes darting toward me, searching for cracks. But they found none. Beneath my calm demeanor, a storm raged, but I kept it buried deep, unreadable. Minutes before midnight, Emily approached me. Can I hold your hand? She asked softly. I smiled, offering my hand without hesitation. As the countdown began, I leaned in and whispered into her ear, my voice barely above the cheer of the crowd. I know, Emily. Her body tensed. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? She whispered back, her voice brittle. I'm in everything. Mark. The way our families had conspired to reshape me. The trap they had set. And most importantly, that I wasn't as weak as they had assumed. When the clock struck midnight and the room erupted in celebration, I released Emily's hand, meeting her gaze with an unwavering stare. No one gets to change me. That night, everything shifted. But the real battle was just beginning. Some people don't want the truth. Because once you know it, nothing is ever the same again. I knew that. I knew Emily had cheated. I knew how Mark had slithered into our lives. I knew how both our families had tried to normalize the betrayal, justify it, protect it. I knew everything. But most of all, I knew one thing. I wasn't going to accept it. And now, it was time to end the game. After the New Year's party, Emily became clingy. She still wore the facade of the strong, confident woman I had once loved. But the certainty in her eyes had vanished. She was afraid of losing me. And she was right to be afraid. One night at dinner, I caught her watching me, studying me, the way I held my fork, my expressions, my posture. Finally, she caved. Jake, she murmured, aren't you going to tell me what's going on? I set my fork down, laced my fingers together, and met her gaze. You already know exactly what's going on, Emily. She stiffened, then forced composure. Look, if this is about the whole Mark thing, I can explain. I shook my head. No, you can't. Because at this point, an explanation doesn't matter. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I love you, Jake. I smiled. Calm. In control. I know, Emily. But love isn't about control. And you don't get to change me. Her voice wavered. What are you saying? For the first time in years, I felt the cage door swing open. I'm saying, you need to let me go. That night, I went to see my mother. She had been expecting me. When she opened the door, her face was painted with guilt. You know, don't you? She said, barely above a whisper. I smiled. Yes, Mom. I know. She gripped the table beside her, as if steadying herself. Jake, this is just how things work. Your father, your grandfather, they all live this way. You need to understand. You need to accept it. I shook my head. No, Mom. You're wrong. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I pulled my phone from my pocket and turned the screen toward her. Every conversation, every whispered plan between her and Emily's mother. Every tactic they had devised to mold me into their puppet. The evidence was all there. She paled. "You wouldn't," she whispered. But when she met my eyes, she knew. I wasn't the same man anymore. When I returned home, Emily was waiting. She saw the suitcases by the door, and her breath hitched. "You're leaving me." I shrugged. "No, Emily. I'm setting you free." She broke. "You can't do this." I stepped forward, locking eyes with her. "I can. And I am." She opened her mouth, but no words came. Because in that moment, she realized how powerless she truly was. The game was over. I stepped into my car, the engine humming beneath me. A new life was waiting. But just as I was about to pull away, her voice sliced through the cold night air. "Jake." I turned my head slowly. Her eyes were red, her body trembling. And then she spoke the final lie. "I only saw Mark a few times, but I never slept with him." We stood in silence. She was testing me. One last time. One final card. But I wasn't playing anymore. I smiled. "You know what, Emily? It doesn't matter." And I pressed the gas. Because for the first time in a long time, I was finally free.